Hello, legends, and welcome to Blunt Force Healing Podcast, episode 238. Today is 238th day since this podcast and underlying blog started. Also, the title says it all. Today's blog post that underpins this episode is called 3-Day Misery and Delight. So let me start with the misery. The misery is that my commitment is crap. And I am embarrassed to say that, but this is what it is. It's the third day that I slipped and was unable to write the blog post before 8 p.m. And what's worse, my commitment that I kept for a good couple of days until Friday was helping me to recover the energy levels, sleep routine, etc. And the fact that I now did not write the post or did not publish the post before 8 p.m. and I wrote them in the usual manner from before the commitment, which is very close to midnight, repeats again as a pattern, and I am publishing both blog post and podcast just at the end of the day, and I am staying over for too long after midnight, and my sleep is shit. Excuse me my language, but let's call it straight. It's crap. So tomorrow I have to get back on track with the commitment, because it's not only about blog writing or podcast recording, it's about me. I need to be selfish here. My health was the reason to make that commitment, but also I don't want to stop writing and podcasting. Regardless how bad it sounds, I am going to retry it tomorrow and restart my new streak of publishing before 8 p.m. The challenge will be that this week, starting tomorrow, will be one of the hardest week that I am expecting. I have a lot of things packed for coming days, and that doesn't help with the fact that I didn't sleep well for the last 2 nights, and I suspect even if I post this one quite fast and just before midnight, obviously I will not go to sleep before midnight. It will be closer to probably midnight or 1 o'clock. So I'm not happy about it. I'm really pissed about it, really. But yeah, what can I do? I can only reflect on that and get back on track tomorrow. I was thinking third time the charm, but as you can see, it's a nope. But I also included in the title and the light. The light at the end of the tunnel, or actually the end of the tunnel, happened today, unexpectedly and pretty fast. What I mean by it is, if you were reading or listening to my 2, 3 previous posts or podcast episodes, you know that my mother's Facebook account has been taken over. This scam is ongoing for years, and it only increased recently, and my mother became a victim of it. The thing is that those scammers do know what they do. They immediately cut all the ties or most of the ties that you can use to recover the account. So, despite me being quite, I would say, savvy in the area and knowing how to try different workarounds and paths, I was only able to go as far, and my mother's account was still used against her followers or friends. But I used the opportunity that I know a person that I mentioned yesterday who works in Facebook. And it's a bit sad that I had to reach out to somebody internally because, hey, Facebook has a lot of help center articles and dedicated pages that are for hacked accounts and for reporting those takeovers. But the instructions there are wrong or are not working. So I can only imagine how many people suffer because of that, not only losing their accounts, but potentially money and their private data that might be used for identity theft or similar practice and cause damage to other people. So my first priority, well, I don't think that's a proper word. Shouldn't use first and priority in the same sentence, I guess, or same phrase. So my priority was not just my mother's account retrieval. That was secondary, because on one side I was happy that my mother learns a lesson, a very hard lesson about what might happen, because I was preaching a lot about those things. I told people to not reuse passwords, to not use the same simple passwords at all, to not use simple passwords under any circumstances, and to protect their means wherever it's possible with the multi-factor authentication. So it's called MFA or 2FA, depending on how it's called. It's the same thing, really. It's just additional layer of security before somebody can log in or do something of a high privilege on any platform, be it email or social media or any other account that you have somewhere over internet. So that's a lesson that she needs to learn, because she was one of those people that had always excuses that, oh, I don't know how to do it, oh, I'm too old for that, or, it was kind of like I hear from many people that just don't want to put effort, and they ignore the fact that it's a very sensitive data, despite the fact what they think. They just see social media as a funny thing to have, and what's the worst that can happen? Well, they can feel it now, and their friends feel it now. So my mother's trust has been damaged by somebody else. And of course, I blame that person, but I also blame my mother for not being on the secure side and being smarter than other people. and the other people have to take that blame on them as well, because whoever got scammed from my mother's account when she wasn't controlling it anymore cannot blame my mother only. They need to blame themselves because they responded to those messages without checking if those were sent by my mother. So that's one thing. And those who lost their accounts or their accounts have been taken over now need to put effort to retrieve them. I was in the lucky situation that I knew somebody in Facebook. And for that, they have internal process with limited scope or limited attempts or tickets that they can raise for their family or friends. And I used that favor with my friend. Obviously, we didn't have any guarantee of that being successful. The last time he used that was some time ago, and it was a very long process, I think up to 6 months. But for some reason, despite them being very busy, it not only took, really, I would say, less than a day to retrieve that account, but I was able to secure it, and now it is safe. And that my priority has been fulfilled because I wanted to give a lesson to a scammer that I messaged on the account, from my account, to my mother to make sure that they read that message. And I told or wrote to that person that they don't know what they are starting against or dealing with. And I meant what I said. There is a bit of luck, obviously, and opportunity that I used to get it faster and more effective, but I wouldn't stop until I retrieved that account or got to the point where at least it's blocked and that person can't touch it. And I achieved now my priority. My mother doesn't know yet, and I'm going to keep her without that knowledge for a moment because I hold that account in a form of recovery person to ensure that next time if something like that happens, there is a backup option for me to fight back, and it's enabled now on the account that even if somebody takes over, there is a way to retrieve that and they can't remove it from the account. Or at least they can't remove it easily. They need my permission. So if my mother happens to be silly or naive again, they will have to go through me. And believe me, it will be a hard time for them. I'm not unbreakable. I got scammed in my life, but I also learned a lot about how scams work and how to detect them. So I'm certainly in a better position to be safer than average Joe. And I will use it against any bad actors out there. This is first lesson that this person learned because they were active and still using my mother's account as far as I remember in the morning when my mother wrote and she was upset. But now this account is no longer under their control. And it was just about 2-3 hours after my mother wrote me about that activity. So they can't use it anymore. Not sure how many people they were able to reach and get responses from, but it is no longer. And I'm going to remove all of the messages. Actually, I remember that now that I should have done that straight away. So this is Now, something that I will do, make sure that these people don't get those stupid messages. Remove it from Messenger for those who did not read yet, so they don't get scammed, to minimize that even more. That's actually a good thing that came to my mind now. So, yeah, it's very late. It's 23:43, so I need to manage and post it now. So I'll cut it short. It's 16 minutes that will pass in about 20 seconds. So thank you very much for coming. Tomorrow there will be a write-up about our today's trip, because we did a trip with my mother-in-law to a new place in Donegal County. So stay tuned, come back tomorrow, and I hope to see you and talk to you tomorrow.